history, we're going to begin by reviewing what will be on your test. Your test will be next Wednesday, so a week from tomorrow. Not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow will be for your first test, and we'll have another quiz next Tuesday. So let's do all the continents and oceans. This will be on your test.
Asia.
This is not Africa. What is this?
Asia, Europe, Africa, Australia, Antarctica, South America, North America, Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, South America, North America, Antarctica.
Much better. Adam, I'm not sure why you're not looking good. You need to know these just as well as the others. Get your eyes up here and pay attention. All right.
Arctic Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, Pacific Ocean, Indian Ocean, Southern Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, Arctic Ocean, Arctic Ocean, Pacific Ocean, Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, Southern Ocean.
Very good. Oh, I don't want to stop that yet. We do need to go on to the next thing, which is charts. And we are going to review without words. Tell me the 5 regions. This is everybody.
Northeast, Southeast, Midwest, Southwest, West.
One more time.
Midwest,
Are you guys even looking?
Northwest,
Okay. If this is north going up and south going down and east going this way and west going that way, then how is this west? It is not west anything. Come on guys, wake up.
Northeast, Southeast, Midwest, Southwest, West.
And one more time.
Northeast, Southeast, Midwest, Southeast.
Everybody stand up.
Northeast, Southeast, Midwest, Southwest, West.
Again.
Northeast, Northeast, Southeast, Midwest, Southwest, West. Northeast, Northeast.
I almost feel like somebody's doing it wrong on purpose because you think it's funny. And if you're thinking it's funny, then you better stop. Do you understand me?
Northeast, Southeast, Midwest, Southwest, West.
All right, now let's do the landforms that we were learning.
Desert, river, oasis, waterfall, plain,
Peninsula, good job, Paige, everybody.
peninsula, island, marsh, gorge,
Gorge, almost.
valley,
This whole thing.
river,
River, and in between?
valley, mountain,
No, this is
hill.
hill. This one is a
mountain, volcano.
All right, very good. All right, now turn to page 40, if you are not there already. And we're going to continue reading about Miles Standish and the Pilgrims. Miles Standish leads the Pilgrims. A short, red-haired man watched the waves lap against the side of the Mayflower. He was daydreaming, thinking back to when the Queen of England sent him, an English soldier, to Leiden, Holland. In Leiden, he had heard of a group of people who had left England. Who are these people? Miles Standish asked. Some call them separatists. Some call them pilgrims, a Dutchman answered. Why did they come here to Leiden? They want freedom to worship God in their own way, but they are not happy here, sighed the Dutchman. Why not? Asked Mr. Standish. Here in Holland, they are free to worship God in their own way. Their children are forgetting their English ways. They are beginning to speak Dutch like our children.
why these separatists are so brave they dare to think of sailing all the way to America. Top of the next page. I would like to meet these separatists. I admire brave people. In this way, Miles Standish was introduced to the leaders of the separatist group. They became very good friends indeed, although he never became part of the separatist church. Soon the separatist plans became definite. They would sail for America, where their children would hear nothing but English, and where they could build their own church in freedom. But the separatists had many questions to answer. What about the Indians? Who would protect them? Surely they would need someone to lead them, but who? Miles Standish may be a small man, but I don't know of any giant who would be braver, one man suggested. He is an excellent soldier. He may not be a separatist, but he would do his best to protect us, replied another man. At last they all agreed Miles Standish should be their military leader. Along with his wife Rose, Mr. Standish and the group of pilgrims set sail for America aboard a ship named the Mayflower. The pilgrims reached America. The days grew colder and stormier. In November, after 66 long days at sea, the pilgrims finally saw land. So that was over 2 months. There's 30 days in most months, sometimes 31. So it was over 2 months that they were at sea. The place was Cape Cod, but they could not settle there. Cape Cod did not have fresh drinking water or a good harbor for ships to sail in and out. All right, I'm going to pick back up the United States map so we can look at that. All right, so we said that the New England states was where John Smith had made a map of. Remember, after he got hurt? He never went back to Virginia and Jamestown. He came and made maps of the New England coastline. And this one right here is Massachusetts, where it has this hook coming off of it. All right, and that hook right there, the tip of that hook is where Cape Cod is. So that's where the pilgrims first landed. But there wasn't good drinking water, it wasn't a good place to build houses, and so they didn't stay there. So then they went around inside that hook to the harbor, and there's where they found Plymouth. And that is where they built their homes and the fort and everything. All right, the pilgrims reach America. Oh, we've already read that. Turn the page. Since the pilgrims were starting their own settlement, they needed to write laws to govern themselves. It was the first form of self-government in the New World. They declared their allegiance to England and wrote fair and equal laws. This document, called the Mayflower Compact. So what was this form of self-government called? The Mayflower Compact was signed by all 41 of the adult men. For the next 5 weeks, Miles Standish led a group of men in search of a good place to build homes. Everyone else waited on board the Mayflower. The trips the men made were hard. The weather was so cold that at times their clothes froze to their skin. Many times they lost their way. They met unfriendly Indians who shot arrows at them. Finally, in December of 1620, they found a good harbor for ships. Not far away was fresh drinking water. They decided that this was a good place to settle, and they named it Plymouth. I don't think you're paying attention, and I need you to pay attention and follow along as I read. Yes, ma'am? As soon as the Mayflower sailed into Plymouth Harbor, all the men began to work. Miles Standish knew that the people needed protection against any possible Indian enemies. First, they built a fort, which would also be a house for everyone until there was time for each family to build a separate home. It was not long until the fort became a hospital. The pilgrims were not used to such cold weather. Without warm houses, warm clothes, and enough food to keep them strong, many pilgrims became sick. Many died, including Rose Standish. Mr. Standish did not allow his sadness to keep him from his work. He knew he needed to help the others. There was always plenty to do. At times, there were only 6 or 7 pilgrims strong enough to help the others who were sick. Miles Standish, the soldier, was not ashamed to become cook and nurse for his friends. He even washed clothes for them. It is not surprising that the pilgrims learned to love and trust this gentle but brave soldier. In February, the Pilgrims named Miles Standish captain of the New Plymouth Colony. All right, so he was a soldier, but was he afraid to do cooking, nursing, washing clothes? No, he was helping those that were sick. Stop and think. When Miles Standish saw one of the pilgrims in need, he helped him. He always seemed to ask himself, what can I do to help? No job was too big or too small. The next time you see something that needs to be done, or someone who needs help, ask yourself, what can I do to help? Helping someone not only makes that person happy, it makes you happy too. How many of you help somebody and you know that feeling of happiness you get from helping someone else? All right, let's read that poem together, everybody. Others, by Charles D. Miggs. Lord, help me live from day to day in such a self-forgetful way that even when I kneel to pray, my prayer shall be for others. Spring comes at last. By the time the warmth of springtime came, half of the pilgrims had died. Yet not one person wanted to return on the Mayflower when it sailed back to England. Don't you imagine with half the people dying that some of them could have wanted to give up? But it said not one of them wanted to give up and return. Do you know why? Why did they not want to go back? What were they leaving?
Because they would leave liberty because they got away from the king in England, so they could worship God their
Right.
way, and he could worship God his way. It's a fair
the Church of England. Remember the Church of England was saying you have to do things this way, and sometimes they were saying things that didn't go with the Bible, so they had left for freedom to worship. All right, by the time the warmth of spring came, half the pilgrims had died, yet not one person wanted to return on the Mayflower when it sailed back to England. As Captain Standish gave orders, the people worked to build their homes. They started in early spring to be ready for the next winter. Turn the page. The pilgrims meet the Indians. One day, while everyone was hard at work, someone shouted, "Indians!" Captain Standish ordered every man to get his gun and be ready to fight. How surprised everyone must have been when one lone Indian walked up to them and said, "Welcome, Englishmen." The Native American, whose name was Samoset, everybody say his name?
Samoset.
Explained that English fishermen had taught him some English words a few years before. To everyone's delight, this friendship also led to a friendship with most of the tribes in the area. To be sure, there were still some unfriendly Indians. At first, they may have laughed and made fun of the pilgrim's short little captain with red hair. They're talking about Miles Standish. He was short and he had red hair. Such a little man cannot be very brave. The Native Americans soon found out how brave Captain Standish was when one Indian tried to kill him with a knife. Captain Standish quickly grabbed the knife and stopped him. From then on, Captain Standish had the respect of nearly every Native American friend or enemy. They found out that a person's size does not measure how brave he is. Copy the next page. For many years, Captain Standish kept his watchful eye on the Plymouth colony. His fearlessness saved Plymouth from the attacks of unfriendly Indians. He led the army at Plymouth for over 30 years. In 1656, Miles Standish died, but the memory of his strength and gentleness lived on in the hearts of the people who knew him. All right, raise your hand to answer these. Why did the separatists want to leave Holland? Okay, we just read this today. Why did the separatists want to leave Holland?
Because they didn't like it there.
Can you tell me what one thing they didn't like? What was happening to their children?
They were speaking Dutch and forgetting the English ways.
Yes, they were starting to speak the Dutch language and forgetting the English ways. All right, whom did the pilgrims choose to be their military leader? The name of their military leader, Adam? Miles Standish, very good. What was the first form of self-government in the New World? What was it called? The first form of self-government. Yeah, both of you need to put it over your nose. Both of you.
No, I was just showing him.
I know, but you can't do it to show him that he's doing it. Get it over your nose now. Yes,
Plymouth.
say it again.
Plymouth.
That was the name of their colony. It wasn't the name of their self-government. They wrote up some laws. What did they call those laws?
Mayflower Compact.
Mayflower Compact. Mayflower Compact, that's the first form of self-government in the New World. 2 ways Captain Standish helped the Pilgrims. 2 ways he helped the Pilgrims. Abby, give me one.
He was doing nursing people.
Yeah, he nursed them. What else? He washed their clothes. And did you say he cooked for them too? Okay, so he nursed for them, he cooked for them, he washed their clothes, and he protected them too. We could add that one in there too, couldn't we? Think back to John Smith and the colony at Jamestown. Compare the Pilgrims to the gentlemen. Were the Pilgrims like the gentlemen?
No.
No.
They actually worked.
Yeah, they actually were willing to work. They
Not
had a rough
completely.
time, they got sick, many of them died, it says half of them died, but they were not going to work like the gentlemen who were so wealthy, they felt like they didn't have to work. So the gentlemen came to Jamestown for what reason? We just had that on quiz. Why did they come?
Wealth.
For wealth. And why did the Pilgrims come to Plymouth? There were actually 2 different groups. One came for one reason, and one came for another.
Because the children was speaking Dutch and
Okay, but that's why they left Leiden, but why were they coming? Why were they all coming? There were 2 groups of pilgrims. Some came for, you're telling me why they left Leiden?
adventure, and some came to worship God.
Yes,
The freedom of
to
worship.
worship God, and then there was another group that came for adventure. Okay. All right, and that's where we'll stop today.